Imagine a life of fear and uncertainty, living in a country who is constantly struggling with political, economic, and social instability. Imagine having a family to raise, little mouths to feed, and little bodies to keep safe. You have no security or hope for your home, so you decide to leave. But where do you go? This is the reality that Iraqis have been dealing with for decades. In a country struggling with poverty, democracy, and safety, many of its citizens flee in search for a better life. But is a better life what they receive? Today, thousands of Iraqis are trying to find new homes across Europe, including in countries such as Belarus. Many of these migrants are currently victims to what they are referring to as the Belarus-Poland border crisis. Now, what is exactly happening? The country of Belarus is currently offering tourist visas for Middle Eastern refugees. With no other choice, they accept it. Once they arrive in Belarus, government officials take them down to the Belarus-Poland border and wave them down to proceed to cross Poland's border. Upon trying, they are met with Polish soldiers, denying anyone passage. Thousands of these migrants have been led here and now have nowhere to go. They have been camping out for weeks, with conditions getting harsher by the day. Resources are dwindling as men, women, and children fight to get past the border. Not only have they been met with violence by Poland and Belarus officials, they are struggling with inadequate food, shelter, medical care, and cold weather. Dozens have already lost their lives from exhaustion or freezing, including children. In our analysis of Mendevar and Abrigo's discussion on legal violence, we can see how this applies to the immigrants affected by this crisis. They are suffering the legal violence that is often endured by immigrants, harsh conditions and suffrage that is often expected with the experience of being an immigrant. The current legal system in place and the immigration laws within it currently make it very difficult for these people to be able to gain legal entry into the country. In our reading of Social Control and Justice, Crimmigration in the Age of Fear, we learn how the intersect of criminal and immigration law creates even stricter conditions for immigrants. The rise of crimmigration creates even more difficult circumstances for migrants when evolving immigration laws aim to displace them as easily as possible. The suffrage and pain of these migrants are very real. But to many entities such as Lukashenko, these individuals are just viewed as pawns of political situations, a common trend in history. The U.S. may condemn the actions of Belarus now, but they were a significant contributor to the instability within Iraq, similar to their involvement in Honduras. J. Mark Rule's article, Honduras Unravels, explains the political history of Honduras, how that led to mass migration and the role that the U.S. played in that. They facilitated money, weapons, and resources to create civil unrest and only intervened when it benefited them, all while rejecting the immigrants they created to their country. The video we watched in class, called How U.S. Involvement in Central America Led to a Border Crisis, depicts the very actions that led to the border crisis of Central America. The U.S. has a history of destabilizing regions, creating and abusing migration crises for their benefit, and scrutinizing immigrants themselves. People are turned into immigrants, and later are weaponized with the identity of being one. Within society, anti-immigration rhetoric is common. Many citizens talk about how immigrants are criminal, lazy, or dangerous, and how they worsen their communities. During our 4th week of class, we discussed the many violences, structural, symbolic, and legal, that immigrants are subjected to. We watched a video that presented a woman's opinion on illegal immigrants and how they are draining the system, a reoccurring sentiment. Many take issue with the illegality of their entrance and insist they enter the country legally, but no one talks about how different governments and leaders create conditions for immigration and even orchestrate it for political motives. The immigrants of Iraq have been led into this crisis and are now in the middle of a power struggle between Poland and Belarus. Unlike for Lukashenko, this situation is life and death for many of these immigrants who are now caught in the crossfire. Now, as discussed in week 9 of our course, the focus of the European Union is to criminalize people who facilitate illegal immigration, which in this case is President Lukashenko. While the European Union have taken a stance, their response is often limited, as it is in this case, especially to those who are affected at most, which are these displaced migrants. They have expressed their condemnation, but who will take care of these Iraqi migrants now that they are there? What happens now? And who is responsible for them? History repeats itself once again. Immigrants are used as chess pieces in a game for power and control. They are forced into an immigration system which is molded to work against them and their interests. The ones in the position to help often only do so out of self-interest. So for now, unfortunately, it seems that these Iraqi migrants are left to fend for themselves.